Good afternoon, everyone, especially to our beautiful and sexy professor, Ma'am Cindy Abarabar. Today, we are going to present to you our video presentation about lesson planning in multigrade context. Take note that this is not a typical lesson planning that we usually know and do. But first, allow me to introduce my group mates. First, Rochelle Agtarap. Second, Miss Joyce Lapat. Third, Miss Angelica Donato. Fourth, Miss Rona Olivo. And yours truly, I enjoy Bilguera. Before we finally proceed, guys, let me read our learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to A. Define lesson planning in multigrade context. B. Determine what are the things to consider in lesson planning. C. Identify the stage of lesson planning. And D. Cite an example of lesson plan in multigrade context. To start with, let us call Ms. Rochelle Agtarap to discuss the lesson planning in multigrade context, to be followed by Ms. Rona Olivo.
Lesson planning in multigrade context. Once you start teaching in a multigrade classroom, the effectiveness of your teaching is depende kung ano yung way mo, kung paano ka ba magturo sa mga bata with different age, personality and abilities, and also dun sa pag-handle in giving many activities. And kapag gumawa tayo ng lesson plan, we need to develop different instructional strategies and take note na yung content nito is akma dapat dun sa curriculum. And dapat din nating alamin yung prior knowledge at interest ng ating mga students in order to meet their needs. Through direct teaching, peer tutor, small group, or independent study ay mas lalong na-engage at natututo yung mga students. Also, we can create exciting activities wherein we can group the students by age or grade on which they can collaborate and help each other. Next, the number of classes to be combined together is essential for teaching the required curriculum content in a phased and continuous manner, and for making it appropriate to the cultural and socio-economic context of your school. And we have here things to consider in lesson planning. First, select common themes from one subject suitable for all the grades in your multigrade classroom. In lesson planning, pumili lamang tayo ng isang topic sa isang subject. Choose the lesson should be taught to all students at the same time. Same content, same teaching and learning. Second, develop a flexible timetable for all the grades throughout the session on this theme. So, balance your time effectively. Set time in teaching kung gaano ba ito kahaba. At maglaan din ng oras sa bawat activity so that you can finish the lesson on the scheduled time. Third, develop daily lesson plans for each unit related to this theme with the help of textbooks and reference material as per the curriculum. Yung daily lesson plan, ito yung na-outline nito yung purpose at activities na dapat matapos on the specific day. And in order to cater the learning needs of the students, we can use the textbooks and reference material. And dapat yung textbook tsaka reference na ginamit o pinagkuhanan ay naka-align dapat dun sa curriculum. Example nito ay yung curriculum guide at teacher's guide. And to continue, let's call Miss Rona Joanna Olivo.
We are now move on to the fourth thing to consider in lesson planning. Select activities linked to the curriculum that are to be conducted in the class. Of course, in making activities, we should create or generate appropriate activities that are connected to the lesson in order to encourage the students, to help them, and in order to develop the skills and the knowledge required to demonstrate effective learning in the course. The fifth is develop relevant worksheets for individual or group practice. Developing worksheets are effective tool in encouraging our learners to engage their brain in class. After making the activity, we make sure that it is good for individual and by group task. Having an individual worksheet will develop the students being independent and develop the capacity to learn without always leaning on others. They can rely on their own resources that can strengthen them in learning on their own. While in group practice, it is that they can reinforce skills that are relevant to their group work. The 6 things that we consider is relate concepts from the curriculum to example from your daily lives. Real life examples can provide a concrete applications to knowledge and skills learned in the classroom. 7. Prepare quizzes to assess your students' mastery of the curriculum content. It is necessary to generate this kind of assessment that will allow the teachers whether their students are learning. Then the last one is to nurture talent in the school by organizing related to co-curricular activities such as music, creative arts, games, and physical education. As a teacher, we should consider this part because it improves the learning experiences of the students. It helps them to identify and develop their inner talents. In a multi-grade classroom, the curriculum is best delivered in an integrated sequence of learning activities. To begin, you can concentrate on a theme, not individual subject or grade levels. This becomes the focus of all learning activities from the whole class. You can add to the effectiveness of the integrated unit by linking it to as many different learning areas as possible. Work with the students instead in a particular topic to explore this as it facilitates their and your learning. It is also important that you are systematic in planning lessons and developing teaching and learning materials relevant to each of curriculum units.
So let's proceed to the stages of lesson planning. First, the before. In this stage, you should include your objectives. It is important to plan your learning objectives or goals because this is a guide of the learners in what they are able to do at the end of the lesson. Also, the learning resources or those under in subject matter, your topic, content, references, materials such as worksheet activity. Furthermore, you should know the learning styles of your students so that you know what method should you use in presenting the lesson and what activities should you prepare for these students. The second stage is during. In this stage, you need to create an activity, either group activity or individual practices to introduce the topic or concept. Present and discuss your lesson and also provide an activity to help your students make connections and for you to monitor their understanding and progress and make the students stay focused in learning. Also, you can relate the lesson into real-life experiences so that the students should be able to connect and understand more the lessons.
So, the last stage of lesson planning is the after. This include the assessment and evaluation. Dito nakapaloob yung mga worksheet activity na ibibigay mo sa mga bata for you to assess if may natutunan ba sila or to reflect yourself if you need to improve your lessons based on the result na makukuha nila dun sa mga activity yon. And take note na mas complex or mas mataas yung level of activity na bibigay mo dun sa higher level kaysa sa lower level. That's all for the stages of lesson planning. Miss Joyce Lapat, your turn.
So, when developing a sequence of learning activities for an integrated unit, you have to aim for the maximum variety in the course of thematic unit. Therefore, students in different grades can work as a whole class or it can be works through the small groups. It can be 3 to 5 members just like that, or it can be worked through pair or sometimes individually. It depends on the majority choices of the whole class, or it can be on the choices of the teachers, of their teachers. Next slide is, if the teacher use a instructional materials that is clear and attractive, the students will interact, and that makes the teaching and learning process will be effective. And the next one is the core team and the subtopics are seen as natural context for students to use further develop their skill and abilities in language and literacy, art, social studies, arithmetic, science, and creative art. So the next slide is lesson planning for multi-grade teaching depends on the number of the grades combined in the one classroom. But whatever the number of the lesson plan needed per day, there are 3 stages planning to be considered. First one here is the plan activities before the lesson. Meron dapat nakalaan or nakaplanong activities bago itakal ng teacher yung bagong lesson. Second one is the planned activities during the lesson para ma-determine ng teacher if nakakasunod ba yung mga estudyante niya sa lesson na tinatakal niya. Next one is the planned activities after the lesson para ma-determine din ng teacher if nakinig nga ba yung mga estudyante or hindi. And the next slide is the example of lesson plan, but it will be tackled by Miss Donato and she will explain the other parts of the lesson plan subject.
And for today, we will discuss the multigrade lesson plan in grade 1 and in grade 2. In objectives, they are both presented after 40 minutes and the pupils should be able to describe the different parts of the body, its shapes, and the movements through playing the lumba sa punahi with at least 75% of proficiency. In their subject matter, grade 1 topic was the body awareness, and in grade 2 topic was the body shapes and the body action. The background information on the topic in grade 1 was the importance of the life stage of Higanon folks, and in grade 2, background information was the importance of the life stage of Higanon folks. They are the same, while their brief descriptions was folk children within the age of 6-7 years can describe the different parts of the body shape, and their movements through playing the lumba punahi, while in the other hand, in grade 2, brief description, folk children within the age of 7 years old to 8 years old can describe the parts of the body while playing the lumba punahi. In the materials needed, they both need bamboo pole, tree, and pictures. In introduction, we need to call some pupils that will stand in the front and let the pupil identify the body part starting from the head to the feet. And in the modeling, they need to present it by singing the my toes, my knees with the suggested movement. Those procedure was both needed in grade 1 and in grade 2. Next, we have guided practice, the group practice, and the independent practice that needed in this lesson plan. And after that, we have the post-assessment, which is pupils needed to answer some assessment according in the topic what they are learning, so that they can apply it and they can assess if they are already know the part of the body that they are already learned.
In conclusion, lesson planning in multi-grade context is to provide a diverse instructional strategies both suitable to the curriculum content and of course to the needs of the learners. The teachers are responsible to strategically plan activities that the learners will engage through direct teaching by group or individual study. The reporters mentioned also that there are 8 things to consider in lesson planning. We must put in mind these 8 because it will guide and help us in making an effective lesson plan. On the other hand, Ma'am Irene discussed also the 3 stages in lesson planning: the before, during, and after. Before is the stage wherein it is the preparation, making the lesson plan, the materials of worksheets, and so on. The second stage is during. It is clear that in this stage, as a teacher, you will present or discuss what you have prepared. And the last stage is after, this is the time that you will assess your students by giving them worksheets, activities, or remedial to those students who fully did not understand your lesson. This stage also is to assess your performance if you did well or if you need to improve your future lessons. We have also presented some examples of lesson plan in multigrade that Ma'am Angelica discussed. That's all, thank you.